Good morning, everybody. Well, more storms firing across an already soggy south on this finally Friday. The city's back in the bullseye today. Plus, when you might be able to ditch the rain gear altogether, Steph.
Please tell me when. Speaking of being sick of the rain, another stormy weekend on tap for the Northeast. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Hang on for Sunday. Jim?
I love tunnels. And Tropical Storm Alvin has come to life in the Eastern Pacific, but how long is it going to be around? Because now the shear is getting to it, but it's going to influence areas in the Southwest suffering from big-time heat. Plus, we'll get you ready for the Atlantic hurricane season, which starts on Sunday, Jordan.
Oh, my goodness. We're already back in the zone. This is America's Morning Headquarters. I'm meteorologist Jordan Steele. Good morning, everybody. You saw meteorologist Stephanie Abrams and Jim Cantore with us. Well, we have a tornado caught on camera for you. Check it out. Twisting across the I-75 corridor right literally outside of Atlanta. So you got to look closely. You're going to see the funnel in front of the vehicle tossing debris into the air in Locust Grove. Over a dozen buildings damaged in a neighborhood in Henry County, including one home that was completely leveled. Also, we have to mention one teen was injured and transported to the hospital with minor injuries. National Weather Service teams are going to be out to survey the damage today to determine the intensity. More storms for the south yet again as a front moves through, Jim.
So think about this. Here's an area that had literally zero tornado potential yesterday.
Right.
All right. This thing spins up literally out of nowhere. Weather Service does have a tornado warning on it. But if you kind of don't have it in the back of your head that, well, maybe there's a chance that, you're going to be like, what the heck just happened here? Because that's how quick that all evolved. So you got to always be ready. And that's why even on these days where they have a low 2% tornado probability, I like to show you those because it's not zero. And even yesterday was even a bigger case in point in the fact that we didn't even have a probability there in the Atlanta area. But a couple of tornadoes down along the Gulf Coast, Henry County, the other one, of course, very heavy rain. We were dealing with that when we started the show yesterday. Okay, then we had another round that came through. So it's still raining down in New Orleans this morning. And now we're going to watch a lot of this kind of move across Kentucky, move across parts of West Virginia as well. We just got through with a tornado warning in Kentucky, as a matter of fact. So here's a rather large area of thunderstorms we're watching. That does include Atlanta. It does include Greenville. So the I-85 corridor today, the I-95 corridor, high population areas certainly in play for thunderstorms as this trough finally starts to evolve in the east before it eventually scoots on out. So notice we have a Torcon of 3, Richmond, Raleigh, and surrounding that, a large area of 2, which, again, isn't 0. So, D.C., you're in that. Augusta, Georgia, Atlanta, you're in it as well. So the whole thing is kind of willy-womp. I mean, there's a system. There's the system, and there's another one off the map up there. I'm going to probably move this later. Here's one that's moving up the East Coast this morning. Plus, you got this jet, which is starting to scream down here in the south. All of this is going to kind of, especially these two and the one to the north, kind of gets together and creates this upper low as we get in toward the weekend. Here's how it looks at the surface. Deep tropical moisture has come all the way up the Tennessee Valley, has come all the way up through the mid-Atlantic, and we've already got a line of thunderstorms pretty active this morning, both ahead of and behind the front across Texas. So more beneficial rain, maybe even too much of a good thing. This has been kind of a daily occurrence down here of late, all this subsevere. So there you can see that tornado warning disappearing, now being replaced by a severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, is what we got. What's new? Oh, the tornado warning came out? Okay, let's go. Let's do it, Jilbo. Looks like it went back to tornado, or it just expired and came back. This is LaRue and Marion and Taylor's counties, and you can see here around just north of the Campbellsville area, kind of a little line segment with a few embedded, supercells, obviously along that line. Look at the twist going on there. All right, and you can certainly see a couplet. You can see rotation. That's what we call a TVS. Tornado vortex signature on the radar. This is showing up on the radar here, and that's why it says source radar indicated. Hey, Jilbo, is there any dropout right there, just in case? Let's take a look. No. So at least from a standpoint of what we're seeing, it doesn't look like there's any debris in there, which would be a TDS, and at least at this time we don't have it. But if you're up in Lebanon, we're going to time this out for you. That's going to be around your area about 6:24 this morning. Willowtown is about 6:10. so earlier than Simstown 631 at present speed and movement. So we'll see how this thing evolves, certainly as we go on in time, and really the whole line, because maybe something else forms along that line as it continues to push east across central Kentucky. Boy, Kentucky, what a year it has been for you weather-wise. So you've got that area. You've got the line of showers and storms coming down into this big heat and humidity in Texas. Let's go ahead and move this forward for you, and you can see how the showers and the thunderstorms come over West Virginia, Western Virginia, into Western North Carolina. Here's it moving through Atlanta right around lunchtime. So if you plan on getting out around lunchtime today, definitely anticipate that. Scattered about down into southeast Texas. And then here comes all the action across Raleigh and Charlotte and down toward Macon, Georgia. We still haven't gutted the humidity. And remember, there's that upper level piece behind that. So there will still be a few showers coming back into Kentucky, coming back into central Appalachia. And then we finally start to lose a little bit of that humidity into the southeast. Tomorrow, yeah, the sun may be out, 83 degrees. As the air mixes up a little bit here, Steph, it's going to feel a little bit more comfortable. But it didn't take long to heat up behind the cold front.
Right, that's what I say. It's going to bounce right back. And by the way, as we go into next week, we are going to see really a shift in our temperatures because we're feeling all that cool air under that upper level low, which Jim was talking about in the Midwest and the Northeast. That is going to be changing. Let's take it down in Texas. Houston, by the way, we're actually about average on rainfall for the year, for the month. We're pretty good here, pretty copacetic. We are going to get some more rain, though, coming in for us. Again, we were talking about the storm yesterday and how it was going to head towards the coast and then eventually into Florida. Showers for us, especially in the south side of town around 11 o'clock with some of those stronger thunderstorms firing as we continue into the afternoon hours. Then we will see even a few storms lingering as we head into the evening hours. Birmingham, by the way, we don't need any more rain for the month. We are soaked. 6.7 inches above average for the month. It is a wet one here, and we will see those showers. Jim was talking about that boundary coming through. Let's have a closer look at it along this I-20 corridor around 11 o'clock. Here it is going to be affecting us into Birmingham, also into 58, Gadsden getting it, Kennesaw, Ellijay, Gainesville, Atlanta, Georgia, hitting you right around 1 o'clock on the north side of town. So flights that are taking off from the south side of town maybe you can go south, but if they've got to go north, we'll probably have a ground stop, or you're going to have them go south and around these storms. I think it'll be quite bumpy to go through them. That blows through very quickly. Thankfully, it's only going to last an hour or so, so hopefully we can catch back up with our flights here. And then as we head into the evening hours, all is quiet, all is well. How about as we take you into Charlotte, North Carolina, also into the Rock Hill area, South Carolina, hitting us around 2 o'clock after school, even though school is finished for everyone, right? I don't think anyone's left in school anymore. We get a couple rounds coming through even around that dinner time as we wrap up our work week and head into the weekend, which Jordan, as Jim was showing us, is going to be much nicer, but we can't say the same for the Northeast.
Dare I say there's still some summer schoolers out there? Were you a summer school kid? Yeah, right. You like jump in, do the summer school so that the next semester it's not as bad for you, right? Or maybe you're trying to graduate early if you're in college. Here's the thing. We've got some pretty intense storms that moved through just yesterday. Steph did highlight the fact that some of us could actually look very nice and beautiful this weekend. For you folks in Florida, I'm talking about the northern section for sure, which I'll get to that in a moment. We had 65+ mile-an-hour wind gusts, and obviously you're seeing the wind, icons, especially along the I-95 side. So these storms get going. They get pretty fierce, and we're going to be right back into the action yet again today and even into tomorrow. Today's threat's going to be from about Lake Okeechobee due north. We're going to be looking at a lot of intense precipitation and storm coverage around Pensacola. We saw that yesterday, that storm system that was pretty potent heading towards Tallahassee. This morning, I'm just kind of keeping my close eye on areas near Clearwater Beach, just north of Tampa. This might linger a little bit. A lot of this convection just offshore, and I'll show you that in a moment. From a radar perspective, or a model perspective, notice how it just lingers here. All right, look, I mean, we're now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're still looking at some of these storms coming in off the coast. So just keep an eye out to the sky. Keep an eye out for water spouts. Of course, this time of year, we can maybe see some of that. And then notice some of these storms drift over Orlando. A couple isolated showers down here near Alligator Alley and up towards Jacksonville as well, coming and going. That cluster near Tampa moves towards Vero Beach and West Palm as we head into the second half of the day tonight. And those could be a little intense as they're working their way off into the Atlantic. And then, of course, notice some of the action up towards Pensacola, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville. This is the actual boundary that's going to be moving through. That will be sliding south as we work our way into our Saturday. So this will be our Saturday maker, meaning as it slides south, you'll see storms along that boundary, and then it shifts its way the second half of the day to the southern half of the state for your Saturday afternoon, and then drying and clearing for a good chunk of Saturday for the northern section. So we'll kind of be split, Jim, as we head into tomorrow. And that's one of the reasons why we'll focus on South Florida as we get into your Saturday. North Florida, though, looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it does. And there'll even be a little bit of drier air over toward Destin and the Emerald Coast. So you may just not feel so doggone humid. There's plenty of time for that, though, Jordan.
That's right.
We just started, okay? We just getting into the summer here. All right, so let's talk about the north. Speaking of gloom, it's another day that ends in Y, so that means we got a chance at rain in the Northeast, right? Look at these weekends that have been wet. Steph did a nice breakout on this yesterday. Boston, New York, Pittsburgh, Syracuse. I mean, just in the gloom. Yes, we're going to have another weekend of wetness. Yes, some of you are going to get an inch or two of rain. We're just the messenger. Please remember that. Kind of a wild pattern here when you think about it. I mean, you get this trough, which is kind of, I like to call it evolving because it's got a lot of pieces with it, okay? And they're all kind of coming together. And the fact that it's going to kind of cut itself off for a second over the Northeast and as it evolves keeps us kind of in the gloom. So you kind of watch this. I mean, you know, they only show these two pieces here, but there's really three of them. But all in all, the two main ones, watch them kind of get together and just hold each other back and what we call Fujiwara around one another, which means they kind of influence one another on their flow. That's going to create a couple of surface lows moving on off toward the Northeast. So let's start you out this morning. Again, if you're just joining us, LaRue, Marion, Taylor counties, we had a tornado warning storm. Tornado warning quickly expired. They reissued. You can see down and through here that the TDS is not as strong as it was. So, Jobo, if you want to loop that, we can show everybody what we're talking about. Because when we showed this at the top, I mean, there's still certainly a little bit of a signature there. Wow, that's really flying through. That's really flying through. Anyway, you can certainly see, there we go, thank you. You can see that the couplet here almost looks like we've almost got two little areas of separate rotation now. So that's kind of interesting. And what I like to show everybody here, obviously, is time it out for you from places like Lebanon, 625, St. Mary, 621, Simstown, if it keeps going, which it will likely change by then. This is moving east-northeast at about 35 miles an hour. We'll see what happens. Hey, Jobo, just for the sake, before you moved on. All right, I just wanted to see if we had any kind of a drop out there because yesterday's Henry County tornado in Georgia kind of freaked me out because it happened so quickly here. And it was one of these things. So no debris showing up yet, but there is a rotation, a couple of them actually, showing up on the radar within the warning. All this heads to the Northeast today. Watch out in the Mid-Atlantic for wet weather, but a wet Saturday will ensue. All right, let's talk about a little relief in the form of heat relief, I should say, in the Southwest.
And moisture, but that'll be due in part to Tropical Storm Alvin, which is just unraveling so quickly. This upper level low is just eating it away. Anyway, that's what we're going to focus on. Nothing to worry about, even though June 1st, Sunday, our first day of hurricane season, we have no expected development. But look at Alvin. I mean, this poor thing just looking terrible, getting sheared because we have this upper level system that we'll show you here right now at 50 miles an hour, but it's going to continue to go down as that shear continues and as it goes into that cooler water. But that doesn't mean we won't feel any impacts from this system because some of the moisture will get into the Southwest. We have this big upper level low that is doing Alvin dirty right now, which is a good thing, right? We don't want a strong storm, but notice the moisture that will get pulled northbound this weekend. So we'll have a little bit of that tropical influence coming in as we have a bigger trough coming in to the West Coast, really as we head into our Sunday, Monday. So that upper level low is going to get pushed in by the bigger trough. We got a little Alvin moisture in there as well. So all of that combined means Sunday into Monday, we will have showers and storms here into the Southwest. That will also help keep us a little bit cooler. As we head into next week, however, that does translate into the threat for some severe weather into the center of the country.
See how weather plays a role in some of the hottest jobs around.
Probably going to need to redo it.
Why in the world would they have a meteorologist here on a construction site? I don't know either.
What is the hottest you remember ever being outside swinging one of these things?
105?
Wow. This is the fun part. How did I do?
Don't quit your day, yo, man.
Watch me, Reynolds Wolf, on the Weather Channel on Hot Jobs.
All this week. Hot Jobs presented by Carhartt. We build the gear. You build your future.
All right, welcome in. Breaking now, we are keeping a very close eye on a tornado warning that's hitting us right in the smack dab middle of Kentucky. Good morning to Louisville. You guys have got some good rainfall ongoing this morning. A lot of that spreading up towards Cincinnati, but look at within the base of this cluster how you have this little line segment on the south side of this, and this is where we're actually starting to see some rotation taking place. So you got two little boxes here with the yellows, the severe thunderstorm warning, and then the red is what we're concerned about. That's where we think we've got rotation. Looks like it's heading towards Lebanon as it's tracking north and east, roughly 30 to 35 miles per hour. So this is right in Marion County, southeast of Elizabethtown, and you can kind of see the overall flow here. Everybody's got rain outside of that. That's just the potent side of this storm system that we've got. There it is, clearly some rotation currently taking place. And again, if you're in this Lebanon area, I believe that's the town, I want you guys to make sure that you're in your safe place, okay? We don't want to mess around with anything, especially with how much we've seen in Kentucky from a state perspective, with all the devastation that we've received as of late. And so this storm system, even though it looks like it's kind of, small, definitely on the way, and it could pack a bit of a punch, all right? So, of course, you guys in that zone around Highway 68, make sure you're seeking shelter near State Route 84. This is south of Laredo, so you can kind of see we're right there in that border. And if it keeps a track, it might just move just north and west of Lebanon, but I just want you guys to make sure to just stay in your safe place. Same thing for Raywick, same thing for Newmarket. Just sit put for a little bit. Don't move, don't be out and about driving. I know some of you got to get out the door this morning, but just wait this thing out. It'll cross over St. Mary. If you look at the timing here, 6:23 a.m. Eastern time, and then it could maybe continue its trek up towards Springfield. All right, we'll zoom out here to give you some other travel updates here for you this morning. A couple of showers spreading through Middle Tennessee, heading east towards Knoxville, also up in North Georgia. You guys can see a little bit of a light rain this morning. Also, more storms back towards Shreveport, and then a wetter system that's just leaving the picture here around the Delmarva Peninsula, Norfolk, Raleigh, Outer Banks of North Carolina. That's all pushing out of here. But we're still in this zone where, we've got this upper level feature that's going to be working its way across the southeast. That's the front that's going to clear everything out eventually, but we've got the whole day to have it work its way south and east. So this I-40, I-20 corridor all the way down I-75 could be active yet again today on our Finally Friday, Jim. But just know you got the sun coming out. Of course, leaving us with a beautiful weekend eventually.
Yeah, it's going to get nice, and it's going to stay locked in nice for a while. It's kind of wild how we get there, but we're going to get there. All right, across the Southwest, it's all about big heat. A nice, comfortable 111 yesterday in Death Valley. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah, we go to about 116 today, maybe up to about 118 on Saturday before we finally get some relief from Alvin and that upper low, which is kind of sitting offshore. Now, this, as it is what you call a Rex block. So this upper low actually is helping to keep the ridge kind of locked in here for a day or so. And that's going to be, responsible for a lot of the heat, which is now moving north in toward Boise. Even 100 degrees in Boise is certainly possible. And look at this. Highs 15 to 25 degrees above average under the ridge. That's a big ridge. And through here, Death Valley, as we talked about today, 115, 116. Bakersfield, 102. Vegas, 104. Even Phoenix at 104. So keep an eye on Phoenix, because this will be one of these areas that has like a 20 to 30 degree temperature drop once we get the tropical moisture in there. Redding, this is an old record from 1950 that could break today. Stockton, California, 1910. All right, how's that? 96 tie 86. So these are some old records that either will be tied or broken as we get into today. And then you start thinking, okay, with a heat wave like this, the timing being the end of the month, which is where you're going to have your hottest readings typically in May, right? Because the sun's changing and things like that, we could actually be facing all-time monthly records. One that goes back to 1910 here in Reno, Nevada. All the others, of course, of recent memory, but we'll be close. I mean, nothing screams, we're breaking it, but we're going to get up there certainly toward potentially breaking an all-time monthly record high. But still, here's the deal. Tomorrow, it's still hot. We got another day, too, to get this, right? 30 days as September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31, except for February. So 31 May. We got another day to potentially break these in many, many areas. And tomorrow you can see more records of the 1900s, even 1910 at Boise, Steph, as we approach 100 degrees in Boise at the end of May.
Yeah, we'll see a big flip next week too, Jim, with that cooler air that's going to be coming in. We do have the heat, though, on the field and in the air here at the Women's College World Series. Double elimination. The losers of today's games are out of the tournament. We have the Longhorns versus the Sooners, and Texas is ranked 6th. Oklahoma is ranked 2, by the way.
I mean, that wasn't even fair.
Sunshine. We'll see who's going to win at this one. You're going to need the hat. You're going to need the sunglasses, the whole 9 yards for us here. Texas Tech ranked 12th. The Bruins ranked 9th. Another good matchup here with sunshine.
All right, welcome back. Check it out. We've got a spectacular view from the sky of a massive long track microburst that took place over Austin, Texas on Wednesday. Look at this view. There's the city in the distance. National Weather Service here in South Central Texas saying that the length of the damage stretched about 10 miles. We saw the videos of the hail. We showed you that just yesterday. We had big wind. We had downed trees. It's really cool to look at this like from a bird's eye view, Jim.
You know, when you look at that, do you know that you realize there's 85-mile-an-hour winds in that thing?
No, you don't.
It really doesn't. It just looks like a rain shaft. But 85-mile-an-hour winds out there. Gusts of 77 miles an hour, Austin Bergstrom. So just absolutely nuts as this thing literally unloaded right over Austin.
Nearly 35 million people at risk for severe storms yet again today, from the southeast all the way to the mid-Atlantic, of course.
So all hazards are in play. Damaging winds. We're talking about some big hail and even the possibility of some tornadoes here as this strong upper disturbance kind of comes east. One of about 5 pieces of this thing before all is said and done. Steph's got an update.
It's got the reinforcements coming in, so it's going to be cool and cloudy and wet in the Midwest and the Northeast over the weekend. In the South, we do have a surface feature that is going to be an area that all these thunderstorms are going to focus along, and they're going to push through the mid-Atlantic and down into the southeast today with the possibility of thunderstorms and that possibility of a tornado. We do have a 3. And you don't ever want to sleep on an upper level low. You don't want to sleep on a torcon of 2 or 3 because you can get spin-ups like we saw yesterday. Just little spin-ups, and they can do significant damage, and they can cause significant harm. So do keep that in mind. So there's a lot going on. It is really a sloppy, soupy mess out there. You can see this spin right here, but there's an overall bigger area, upper level low here. And then even into Canada, the reinforcements are there. You've got jet energy also coming around the base of that upper level low, shooting into the southern plains. And so there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. It's not super well organized, but it's there. It doesn't have to be super well organized in order to get storms. Then, of course, we have our surface feature, and that's where storms like to line up along and cause rain and showers and thunderstorms. So this whole system will be moving east, going into the northeast, going down to Florida, spreading far and wide for us. Louisville getting hit. You can see Lebanon, Kentucky is socked in the clouds right now. Thunderstorms also rumbling through Tennessee. A few bits and bobs here, but the main activity right now is into Bardstown, Mount Washington. There's Lebanon for you. Perhaps some light rain. Magnolia, we're cleared out. Danville, rain coming in. Campbellsville, we're cleared out. But this isn't the end of it because you have, like I said, the reinforcements that will be coming in around this upper level energy. Storms into Texas, prompting yet again more flash flood warnings for us. Poor San Antonio, Austin, we've been getting nailed as of late. This is all going to be making its way eastbound as we go throughout the day. So watch for more storms to develop as we get some of that daytime heating that's going to be coming in. Atlanta coming through you around that noontime hour between 12 and 2. Charlotte, Raleigh, it's going to get into you a little bit later. But these are going to be quite fierce for us as we go into the afternoon. Gusty winds and some heavier downpours. New Orleans also another spot, Jim, that does not need a lick of rain. Tomorrow, it's going to get into Florida, South Florida, I should say. I
see a lot of sun icons on there, Steph.
Finally bouncing back in the southeast.
We haven't seen that. I mean, yesterday was absolutely brutal in Atlanta. I mean, it's the end of May, and it's just gloomy and drizzly the whole day. I was like, we can get this in December and January fine, but not in May. I'm ready for sunshine. All right, I'm sure you guys are too. Speaking of ready for sun, look at the number of weekends here that we've had with cloud cover in a row. A lot, or at least kind of putting a string of these together, just crazy stuff. And you can see the rainfall that we're talking about, another 1 to 2 inches. You know, I don't really care what that drought monitor says. This area in the mid-Atlantic's out of drought. We've done well, but people are pretty happy about it overall. So again, as I was talking about this kind of Willy Wampus pattern that we've got here, trying to evolve an upper low, but it's got so many pieces with it. That's a piece, that's a piece. That one gets slung-shot to the south. Even this thing right here kind of sneaks in behind the trough to come into the south, which gives us a chance, again, for some cloud cover tomorrow in the southeast, even though, okay, we're behind the front, our dew points are lower, but we may even have a chance of getting a shower out of that. So watch this thing. It just kind of drops southwest, and it goes off the picture. But here's the bigger part of this, and that means we're going to be dealing with unsettled weather with surface features and, of course, humidity, onshore flow coming in, and our chances at severe weather. This is interesting. All right, so this is this piece of energy that's coming down to help close this piece off. And we actually are going to see some showers and thunderstorms with that. You see the rain pushing into the I-95 corridor. Looks like around dinner time or thereafter. Some storms developing all across Lake Michigan and pushing south. I would think the east side, too, of Lake Michigan is just as prone to storms. We'll see.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, it is finally Friday. A lot of you folks want to get out for the weekend and hit the road. Of course, maybe you got to catch a flight. Teaming up with Subaru, our safe driving partner, to show you what the roads are looking like this morning. Looking like we've got a lot of the energy offshore, but we're still dealing with a little bit of green on I-80, down towards I-68. D.C. obviously has got some of those storms that we will keep an eye on for you folks today. And this is going to be something to watch if you're in the mid-Atlantic or up in the Northeast. Much of New England should be okay, with the exception of a little bit of light shower activity in and around Connecticut. Meanwhile, we stretch down I-95 and kind of work our way down I-81, let's say I-40, the high country of North Carolina and Tennessee. Good morning to you guys. A little bit more wet weather there for you. Also up into the high country of Virginia. We know we've got the intense rain ongoing this morning in Kentucky, and all of that will be tracking east, which then paints the road green, which basically says it will eventually become rainy. Meanwhile, we'll be looking at a few more showers in and around Atlanta today. Again, this big boundary that's moving through, it'll impact a lot of areas as it's tracking south and east. Jim?
All right, guys, after wildfires scorch the hillsides of Los Angeles, concerns are growing about what's now washing into the ocean.
The Weather Channel's Katie Tutrone met up with one biologist who has been taking daily sand and water samples to better understand the changing environment. Her goal, to make sure these popular shorelines stay safe for both people and marine life.
The crisis every day is different and looks different. It feels different, and we're dealing with different issues. The debris we're seeing on the beach is different.
Ever since LA fires, this beach has been covered with a layer of ash, but there's still a lot of uncertainty as to whether this is safe for people to return to the beach.
I don't see any mammals. It's like a Christmas surprise every day. I just wish it was more like Christmas and not as sad as it is.
Though LA County says it's safe, some local advocates and scientists are still not sold on that. That's why Ashley Olsen spends hours every day collecting samples herself.
We've been coming out here every single day, collecting samples of sand and water to test and see what contaminants are in our environment and to see if it's safe for people to be on the beach and understand how the fire is going to be impacting the environment and public health.
But for Ashley, this is a really personal issue.
We love the beach. It's a big part of our lives, and I think people are grieving the loss of it because we can't go in the water. My biggest concern, what upsets me the most, is when I see kids playing in the ash. I see it all the time. This is all fire debris that's broken down, but there's no signs to even let people know, even a warning. We don't know what we're dealing with fully yet, and it's going to take some time before we really do.
And all that comes with a big personal investment.
For sand and water testing for contaminants, I've spent about $10,000.
The results?
When it comes to the sand samples, we're finding that there's heavy metals. Arsenic, lead, mercury, chromium are all some of the ones that are most concerning.
LA County argues it's organic and doesn't meet the need for hazardous material cleanup. But Ashley's samples have her skeptical. Her post-fire samples show significantly more contaminants than her pre-fire samples.
This directly comes down from all the Palisades, the burn zone.
And it's not just a concern for people, it's also a concern for wildlife. Every day, Ashley is finding washed up marine life and dead birds.
Last week, I would have about 30 dead birds from all species that I was documenting.
Which she knew wasn't normal.
I was already doing wildlife surveys here on the beach since 2020. When the fire broke out, I came out here immediately and started doing wildlife surveys so that I would have pre- and post-fire data.
Many studies have linked these deaths to a harmful algae bloom produced by a potent neurotoxin.
This outbreak of domoic acid and harmful algae blooms is the most severe we've ever seen. It's really early in the year. Typically, it happens in the summer months when the water warms up. The ash acts as a nutrient. And so while these might be naturally occurring, it's like putting something on steroids.
Now, until there's any clear answers, her work will continue to raise questions.
My number one ask for the county is just to put up some warning signs, some Prop 65 signs that people are being exposed to heavy metals or contaminants that could cause cancer.
Ashley is reminding us how interconnected everything is. What's happening at one part of the coastline affects everyone.
The ocean is so critical to our lives, whether we realize it or not.
Oh, man, it's sad.
It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so tough. I understand people wanting to cut red tape to get back and everything else, but there are implications if you do that and you don't clean up properly.
Well, hopefully the EPA steps in, right? That's their jurisdiction and it helps to exacerbate, not exacerbate, but accentuate and get that process going a little bit faster.
All right, Jordan, over to you. What's happening in the Midwest as we switch gears a little?
A quick break. I do want to at least give you guys an idea of what we are dealing with. I want to look at Chicago and Cincinnati, going from the beach to parts of the interior. We've got a nice look from an aerial view in Chicago. Notice Cincinnati's soggy this morning with that cluster of thunderstorms working its way right through Kentucky and parts of the Ohio Valley. Behind it, we're good in Des Moines and Minneapolis. Looks like we could see some showers develop eventually in and around Chicago later today.
Safe Driving Guide, brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Well, check this out. We have a state of emergency in Canada. Look at this. More than 170 active wildfires raging completely out of control. Thousands of people being told to evacuate. Crews are just trying to do what they can to contain the flames. And right now, parts of the country are dealing with extreme fire danger. The hazardous smoke from the intensifying blazes, well, it's now cruising south, threatening parts of the U.S., triggering air quality alerts in and around the Midwest. So that's Manitoba. We've got fires all over Canada, but the ones in Manitoba are absolutely insane. And we actually have a satellite picture showing all the smoke infiltrating so many locations. So you got Manitoba here on this side. Then you have Saskatchewan right here with plenty of fires. The big view actually shows more fires there. You go back to Alberta, you've got them up in the Northwest Territories. So they're sprinkled all across Canada here. Just looking at our counter from this view, 90 93 active fires at 100 acres or larger, which of course encompasses over 2 million total acres burning right now. And a lot of that is just to our friends to the north. So this is what's happening with the overall pattern. And more, even Jim was saying this morning, more and more National Weather Service offices are beginning to mention this smoke in their forecasts and their outlook, because we're starting to see it drift a little bit south of the international border, moving over the Great Lakes and Lake Superior. International Falls getting crushed. The Arrowhead of Minnesota getting hit pretty hard. So those air quality alerts are basically all over here for the upper Midwest, including the entire state of Wisconsin. So let's look at the, what it means for us at the surface in terms of overall air quality for today and, of course, through this upcoming weekend. The brown color here is going to indicate that we're moderate air quality, all right? We could maybe move to an unhealthy level, and that would be the orange category. So we'll see as that smoke continues to filter to the south. We still have some greens on there, but, of course, wind direction and wind flow is going to be everything for us. And also, is it at the surface or is the smoke way up high? Okay, and that's a big difference, believe it or not, determining on, how that impacts us and our lungs down here at the low levels. Either way you look at it, you can look at different, increased beauty in terms of sunsets and sunrises because of that, those particles coming down in. But if you look at the overall forecast, throughout the day today, look at that smoke coming all the way down to central Illinois, parts of Indiana, and it continues its southward track, all right, coming all the way down to the Mid-South and the South. Meanwhile, we're still watching where the fires are originating from as we work away into Saturday, and that wind could continue to blow some of that all the way down in this overall flow. So we'll maybe continue to give you guys outlooks on our air quality forecast for places like Chicago and Marquette and maybe the Twin Cities as well, in addition to some spots all the way down towards Louisville. So that'll be the overall plan. Of course, if you're in one of these zones, Jim, we know that we need to maybe stay inside, especially if it gets unhealthy. Today doesn't look bad, it's moderate, but that's if things get worse.
Yeah, there was one little station in the Arrowhead of Minnesota that had unhealthy. A lot of this is going to be hazy skies. All right, let's go into Kentucky because we've got a little purple haze going on here with this tornado warning. It's interesting. SPC outlooked this area about an hour, maybe an hour and a half ago for a possible weather watch. It was about 20%, but they did mention, the chance of getting a few severe thunderstorms in here. Radar indicated Boyle, Mercer, Washington County. So we are west of Danville here, south of Mackville, northwest of Perryville. Jubal, go in a little bit closer. This is just northeast of Lebanon. Look at the doggone couplet with that. Holy smoke. All right, that's pretty intense there. Approaching 442 right now, and we're going to put some cities in here to let you know who's at risk. But, Jubal, before we do that, let me just take a look at the correlation coefficient. I want to see if we've got a dropout in through here. And thank goodness we don't. So at least right now, no tornado debris signature. But you notice the yellow and the blue there? That's what you call gate-to-gate shear. All right, the air is going this way with these pixels. The air is coming in with the blue ones. But that's a pretty good gate-to-gate shear right there. So that's a pretty strong rotation. All right, when and if it decides to produce a tornado, we'll see. But if you look at Stewart, Perryville, Nevada, Needmore, Danville, these are all the times that we've got this thing moving toward you, moving northeast, or east-northeast at about 35 miles an hour in through here. So interesting. These little line segments and embedded supercells within that are what we're watching in through here. So crazy times. I'm just going to get one more quick look at this correlation coefficient because that is some really strong rotation. You know what, Joe? I think I got something. Go back to that. Go back to that. I think I got a little dropout here. Look at the other channel. I want to see if there's a little something. Yep, there it is, right there. All right, so it looks like a tornado on the ground. Again, west of, this is 442. There's just too strong a rotation, which is why I want to go back to it. And that's exactly where it is, just west of the highway here. 442, moving off to the east-northeast at about 35 miles an hour. So, guys, take cover. There's likely a tornado on the ground with this that is causing some type of damage, whether it be trees or certainly outbuildings. We don't know. We don't know what's here. But if you're in Perryville, keep an eye on this. Looks like it's going to pass just to the northeast of you as we work our way through the next few minutes or so. Again, putting some towns up there and some times. Be safe. It looks like a tornado debris signature with this particular storm as it continues to move off to the northeast. We'll be back with more coverage here on an active morning here at the Weather Channel. All right, guys, dangerous storm in central Kentucky right now with a tornado on the ground. This is Boyle County. This is about 4 miles to the northwest of Perryville, Kentucky. So if you're watching us there this morning, this is a pretty dangerous situation. This storm developed very, very quickly and is continuing to push on off to the northeast, just getting ready to cross over, if it hasn't yet, 442. So Boyle, Mercer counties, we're going to go in nice and tight on that, and we're also going to keep an eye on the storms off to the west of that. So there's Perryville. All right, we're looking northwest there. The rotation not as strong as it was, but let's go back, and you can do frame by frame, Jobo, if you want, and show everybody. We still got debris signature, all right? So there's still debris with this, and you can see how quickly this escalated, all right? We literally saw this real strong rotation area, and then all of a sudden, boom, the bottom drops out of this thing, and it's very close to Perryville right now, still producing debris or likely a tornado on the ground. Let's look at the TDS. I want to see how the vorticity is doing within the storm itself, which is, this is just showing us the wind field here. And also loop this, Joe, but go back and go forward, because it was just super, super tight as it developed here. They put the tornado warning out. You see how tight that was? Boom. And now you're kind of starting to loosen up the gate-to-gate shear with the TVS. So whatever it is, looks like at least maybe it's weakening for a second. That doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, all right? But because we still have debris. You still have a tornado on the ground northwest of Perryville. You should be in your safe place. Let's time this out for these areas pretty much from the couplet. So Perryville, again, proper, it's pretty much, right on top of you in 5 minutes. Nevada, Danville, 717, Little Needmore, and also Marcellus. These are all your respective times here on the left, should you get present speed and movement, which is about 35 miles an hour off to the east, northeast. So keep an eye on that storm and even the storms behind that. Remember, we get this upper low here, and you've got this warm, humid air. We've got a surface low. So you've got all you need. You've got this little patch of vorticity kind of surrounding all that, and it's giving these storms certainly enough to work their way through. If you're in Lexington, it's a rain. Maybe you're hearing some thunder off overhead, kind of rumbling above the stable layer. It's one of those kind of mornings in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can see this rain extends all the way back toward Louisville, up in towards Cincinnati as well, with a few more thunderstorms developing down toward the south. So you kind of get the idea, if you just look at this a little bit. We've got like a little weather system right here, right? And that's what's pretty much coming on east, and that's what's giving us the severe outlook for this afternoon in this area. All right, down to the south, the tail end of this cold front has come all the way through San Antonio, but once again, another active day this week with heavy rain and even flooding. Some reports in San Antonio for Bexar County showing that we've actually got cars that are stranded as a result of the water. So we've gone through the heaviest rain, but behind that is what we call the stratiform rain. That looks like it's going to continue for maybe an hour or two. So multiple stranded vehicles in high water, rescues reported in San Antonio, even at this early hour, low water crossings as well. So, I mean, this is like right in town for San Antonio that we are dealing with this morning. So, wow, thought we'd just ease into a Friday, did you? We got tornado warnings, flooding in San Antonio, you name it. So this disturbance kind of rolls east this afternoon into this hot, humid air, which has been established now for a few days. So we're going to have showers and thunderstorms. We'll let you see what this looks like from a reflectivity standpoint. But even those of you in a 2, I want you to pay attention to that. Yesterday, we didn't even have any tornado probability in a suburb of Atlanta called Henry County. And a tornado just popped up like that and caused quite a bit of damage. All right, they're going to go out and survey that. So here you can see the feature that's producing the active weather. I mean, you're right on the right side of this upper air feature and the surface low. So, I mean, it really is set up perfectly for tornado. We're right in this little warm sector right here, which is where this is going on this morning. I want to show you this and then time it out for you as we go through the afternoon. Instability is not a problem. We've absolutely got that. Our storms will sink south toward the coast of Texas. Very heavy rain, obviously. We know that's already going on with the kind of heat and humidity that's already built up there. But notice these 2 line segments. It's the lead one that we will be most concerned about. Coming over Appalachia into the Charlotte metro area right around lunchtime. Atlanta, you'll be on the southern end of this too around lunchtime. Then everything continues to move east, across and toward I-95 by the time we get to dinner. All right, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, it's all moving on off toward the east and then offshore by the time we go into tonight, and a much more stable atmosphere coming in behind that. But wow, what a start to a Friday here at the Weather Channel. Steph, over to you.
Lightning popping off in North Texas. This is in Sherman, north of Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. Heavy rain pelting the pavement of the street. Golf ball size hail reported. That can do some damage. That's 1 3/4 inches. The Metroplex running about average for rainfall for the month. So let's talk about where we are seeing some thunderstorms. And speaking of running about average, San Antonio, we're actually a little bit on the drier side. We have a little drought in this area, so we could take some of this rain here, but we don't need it with all the lightning and all the gusty winds. But this is that same system, by the way, with the video we were just showing you. And this is actually going to be sweeping east and eventually end up in Florida. If you're listening up, we're going to get this system into the Sunshine State. Houston, this is headed in your direction, but San Antonio getting hammered right now, and it will make its way here along I-10, getting into the Houston metro as we head into the afternoon hours. We'll see those showers and thunderstorms firing up around that 2 o'clock hour. I think I'm locked up, Jilly. Let's have a look. I'm clicking away, and for some reason, my graphics do not want to move, so I think I might be fully, oh, there we go. Now it's moving. All right, thanks, Jill. There are your showers and thunderstorms, as I was mentioning, and we will see a few more as we head on into the evening hours. Now, as we shift over to places like Birmingham, we're over 6, almost 7 inches above average for rainfall in the month. Atlanta, we are over 3.5 inches on rainfall for the month, so we don't need it, but we're going to get it, and we're going to get it in the form of strong storms. Notice this line firing up here. Kennesaw, it's going to be in you. Gadsden, 58 around 11 o'clock this morning. Then that's going to shift down into the Atlanta metro area as we head around that 1 o'clock hour. Don't forget the airport's on the south side of town. So get out while you can, because that is going to slow things down at the airport. Notice as we head into the afternoon hours, even more showers and storms are going to continue to fire for us here. But it gets even more intense as we head into the Carolinas, especially into the eastern Carolinas and the coastal areas. But Charlotte, we'll get it. And we don't need the rain. We're a couple inches above average. We will see those showers in that after school time hour for us here, riding along 85, 77. Charlotte, also Gastonia, Rock Hill. You'll see several rounds come through even as we head towards the dinner time hour. But as we head a little bit later in the night, you can sleep soundly. You don't have to worry about any strong storms. We do have them already here into eastern North Carolina. This is where they could be a little more potent, as Jim was talking about, perhaps a little spin up. Look at that coming into the Raleigh area around 5 o'clock. If you're doing any barbecuing outside, you might want to change that as we get strong winds out of some of these thunderstorms making their way towards Wilmington around the 8 o'clock hour, into the Outer Banks, even as we head into the evening hours once the sun is set, Jordan.
All right, so then we go to the south. Let's check out Florida's forecast. I know we've been very busy. We've had these afternoon thunderstorms pop up, but now we've got to get through this boundary that's going to slide through. A couple things. Number one, it's going to increase your rain chances, which is probably kind of a good thing, especially if you're in the western side of the state, especially southwest. Fort Myers, you really need it. You're down basically by about half. You've gotten about 6 inches or so of rain so far this year. You should be closer to about a foot, 11 inches to a foot. So you definitely need some more rainfall. For the month, we've been okay. We had some really good wind reports coming in on the Atlantic side just yesterday. We're talking 65-mile-an-hour gusts blowing through, and some of that coming right through Orlando. And the reason why I always point out Orlando is because a lot of people vacation there. Summertime, they go to the theme parks, but there's several other areas too. I get it. Miami, you're going to be looking at storm coverage today, a little bit more isolated, just an afternoon pop-up storm for you. The heavier stuff's going to be up to the northern tier, and I'll show you that here. Eventually, you'll get your fair share down to the southern edge of the state as well. Notice this morning, in and around Tampa. Tampa, you're quiet right now, but not for the Bay. You've got storms around the Bay. You've got it up towards Clearwater, a little bit farther to the north as well. Not much up towards the Big Bend, but that could change for you as well. But this activity that we've got just north of Tampa just dances here for a little bit. Look, several hours. We go through 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 1 o'clock, and we're still looking at storms there. Some of it could slide south towards Sarasota. A chunk could break off towards Orlando. More coverage by midday in the afternoon. That's been the pattern for us. So this morning, enjoy your walk. Big feature then blows up towards Vero Beach, the Space Coast, kind of down towards West Palm. That'll be this afternoon. And then notice some activity up here off of the coast of New Orleans, or off of Lake Pontchartrain. You're going to be seeing some of that blow into the Panhandle here for us and give us some more storm coverage across I-10 as we head into late tonight and early tomorrow morning. That's the line that keeps us active into your Saturday, okay? And that will be dropping south. 7 a.m., boom. It's not a quiet morning anymore. We've got thunderstorms popping from Tampa to Daytona Beach. I-4 looks messy. That will continue its southern track. So the good news is maybe we clear out in the northern section of the state by midday into the afternoon. That'll be nice. Meanwhile, deteriorating conditions for you folks down in the South Florida area by Saturday afternoon. And this boundary just kind of stays hanging out in the southern zone into tomorrow, which means we'll continue to see storms down there for you folks in Miami and some of the surrounding areas. The good news is that we are seeing a clearing, especially for folks up in the northern section of the state.
And for those watching us out of Kentucky, it looks like that circulation's weakened a little bit, but still with a tornado warning. You know, please just keep an eye out because that thing could cycle back through. I think it's going to be an active area with that warm front this morning, so be ready, guys. All right, so let's go and kind of advance this story because all of this, even though it's not going to be tornadoes, more than likely. I mean, we're talking about rain chances that are going to be moving into New England and also New York City. So Boston, New York, we're talking about 12 out of 13 weekends here with at least a trace of rain. Cloud cover, just not one of these perfect, like spring weekends with high pressure and puffy clouds. Now, we've had a few days like that, don't get me wrong, but we've had a lot of rainy weekends here. It's been a very, very, very wet spring across the eastern part of the country, all right? Eastern half of the country. So 1 to 2 inches of rain possible in some of these heavier showers and thunderstorms. This is really kind of a wild pattern because this trough is trying to evolve over the northeast. It's got to deal with this piece, this piece. This piece is going to slide south, but this piece is going to actually come in behind the evolving trough. So it's really going to be a wild situation as all this kind of gets together here. But if you're on the western side of this, oh, my goodness. It's going to be beautiful across parts of the Ohio Valley all the way down into the southeast. Now, there may be a shot at a shower coming up on Saturday night and Sunday with that other piece coming down. But other than that, you're going to notice the air mass change. And obviously, it's going to be a lot drier and less stormy than it is right now. So let's go into this storm, which produced a tornado near Perryville. Okay, we're absolutely sure of it. That's this piece right here. Let me do this in red so you can see it. So that's this storm right here. Behind this, there's already a severe thunderstorm warning for the next thing. All right, so we're going to look at both of these storms again. So now the cell that we talked about near Perryville is kind of moving. It's up here. So it's near Harrodsburg and northwest of Danville, if you want to look at it that way. Not much with this one to the west yet. Well, let's see. You know, once it interacts with that warm front, if it causes it to spin up like the cell near Perryville did. The other thing, too, is now the air is a little bit more stable, so we've kind of worked over that air a little bit, so that may help us out. This also looks, just from looking at the storm itself and the reflectivity, more linear. Looks like more of a gusty wind situation than a potential tornado genesis. Rain moving up the Jersey Shore, rain moving through Kentucky, southern Ohio, right along the Ohio River, Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, all wet this morning. And all this heads to West Virginia and Appalachia later this morning, and then eventually on the other side as we get into this evening. Steph, it looks like by dinner time, the I-95 corridor gets a lot wetter from about D.C. south.
I love that you can see that other piece of energy coming down, though, to the north of it.
Yeah, this is it. I bet you, it wouldn't surprise me if they add this side of the lake with thunderstorms.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. But it's just cool how you can kind of see that, you know, those reinforcements coming down. Yeah, coming in. All right, let's have a look at the tropics here because June 1st is Sunday, and that is the start of hurricane season. Of course, the East Pac. Our start of the season is May 15th, and we're already active with our first name storm, Tropical Storm Alvin. Andrea is the first name storm in the Atlantic. We do not expect that to develop in the next 7 days. We want to focus in on Alvin because that is the most active system we've got right now, moving north-northwest at 10, 50-mile-an-hour winds, but this thing is getting sheared to bits. You can see that it is not well constructed. We don't have a nice big circle and plume of thunderstorms. It's very, very messy, and it's going to continue to look messy as it continues to get sheared by our upper level low, and also as it goes into some of these cooler water temperatures as it makes its way towards Cabo. And even though it's going to fall apart before it gets to the U.S., that doesn't mean we won't feel the impacts of it. So we're going to get some juice from Alvin that's going to come up. By the way, here's this upper level low. We're going to watch this thing for days. It eventually moves in like Sunday, Monday, taps into some of Alvin's juice, but that's one of the reasons this thing is getting sheared. That's playing a role in it. And so what will happen is juice from Alvin comes in. We get a bigger trough that kicks that upper level low east, and that's going to help give us lift and squeeze out some of Alvin's moisture as we head into our Sunday. That's what you're going to get there. Then as we head into our Monday, it's that whole bigger trough that's coming in. And so we'll see more widespread rain into the Four Corners, even stretching on into the plains. And a surface feature is going to develop, and we do have that threat for severe weather. So there's a lot going on. Once we get rid of our system that's in the east, we're going to refocus what's coming into the west and all those different pieces of energy. That means more rain here into the plains and into parts of Texas. And it does look like both models are bringing us some of those showers that will be coming in. So, Jordan, things will start developing as we head into our Sunday. They expand into our Monday and even into our Tuesday of next week.
Crazy, seeing rain in Arizona late May and early June.
Yeah.
That'll be good for them. Okay, let's get you guys out the door in the south. We've been seeing basically nothing but rain in the south, right? Keeping temperatures down. Every once in a while the sun comes out, it gets steamy. We got to get through this last front. You've got those storms in Texas, up into Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio. We'll zoom in here on south central Texas and show that flash flood warning in and around San Antonio. We've also been on repeat with some of these storms. Also, if you're around Indianapolis or Cincinnati, be careful, wet roads, and that tornado warning still ongoing.
See how weather plays a role in some of the hottest jobs around. Probably going to need to redo it.
Why in the world would they have a meteorologist here on a construction site? I don't know either.
What is the hottest you remember ever being outside swinging one of these things?
105?
Wow. This is the fun part. How did I do?
Don't quit your day, yo, man.
Watch me, Reynolds Wolf, on the Weather Channel on Hot Jobs.
All this week. Hot Jobs presented by Carhartt. We build the gear. You build your future.
Welcome back, everybody. Good news. The tornado warning that we've had and that we've been tracking in Kentucky has expired. That thing was pretty potent at one time. But you still have some ferocity with these storms as they're tracking east, kind of near hazard. And actually, some of these areas that just got hit not too long ago, London, Kentucky, we're obviously still thinking about you guys. Louisville, you've got rain all across the Ohio River here. That's shifting into Ohio. Cincinnati's got some light showers. And then notice the south edge of this, how we've got some storms that could be a little potent east of Nashville, heading towards Knoxville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, of course, some of these areas up in the high country, which is so beautiful. You're about to get some rain here in the next couple of hours. And it's also skirting the north sections of Georgia, heading towards maybe Greenville, South Carolina. You guys could see some rain sooner rather than later. We'll go to the heart of this thing, right in the midst of Lexington, right across I-75, an area that was hit. There's London I was talking about. Remember, we were talking and giving you guys updates about that powerful tornado that ripped through that beautiful community. That is now all tracking east. Jackson, a couple of light showers. Moorhead, you've got more heavy rain in your direction, and that's all heading towards Huntington. Then we move back towards Texas. Texas has been active all week long. And you in San Antonio and Austin, I mean, I could list basically every city. Dallas, Houston, all of you have dealt with something, whether it's been power outages, powerful storm, big hail this week. We've had some gnarly hail, especially out in West Texas. But this storm is now tracking east of the cities. The most potent storm is now kind of sliding southeast of I-10. It is working its way down that stretch of I-35 and I-37 for that matter. We have a flash flood warning ongoing in San Antonio. We've already seen a lot of rain this week, and of course it doesn't take much to trigger additional flash flood warnings, especially around metro areas where you have a lot of runoff. New Braunfels, you have showers. Again, we were looking at big high water rescues not too long ago in and around central Texas, and we've got more of those in and around San Antonio, several coming in with people stranded, vehicles stranded in some of that high water with some rescues still ongoing again. That has been on repeat. So that's the overall view. This entire section, as you know, Jim, will be active today with the passage of this powerful front.
That radar is not lightening up either. I mean, it looks like it's still pretty heavy around San Antonio. So we're far from over with the flood situation there that we had this morning. All right, the heat is going to be over in a couple of days. All right, when we start to see the pattern change here a little bit, but we're going to be dealing with this today tomorrow on into Saturday as well. Sunday, we start to break it down. Actually, even Saturday night a little bit with the cloud cover moving in. This upper low, high to the north, this is what we call a Rex block. It looks like a figure 8. If you draw around it, it looks like a big 8, right? And usually with these, there's a big hot air bubble kind of sitting underneath the ridge part of it, and that's exactly what we've got. But that includes much of the Southwest. It includes much of the Central Valley of California, Boise and Idaho, into central Utah as well. I mean, a lot of heat, 15 to 25 degrees above average in terms of the temperatures in through here. Death Valley, yesterday was 111, I believe. Today, we're forecasting 114. We could get up about 118 as we get into Saturday. So, right? Ready, look at this record. 1950 we could bust today. Stockton, that's a 1910 record that we've got. So it's late May and we get hot, but this is like deep summer heat for the Southwest. Now, if we get high enough, we actually are going to threaten the monthly heat records in these areas. All right, and we definitely have to deal with these. All right, so Death Valley, 115 degrees, 105 in Las Vegas, 100 in Blythe. You know what, Jilbo? We just got another tornado warning in Kentucky for Jessamine and also Mercer, Kentucky. Steph's got a sponsored segment in through here, but Steph, I'm going to give it to you early. Maybe we'll get back and show everybody what this looks like in a minute.
Okay, well, it's almost the weekend and time to head out and enjoy the outdoors. And today's weather-wise, we partnered with Zevo to take a look at where pests and mosquitoes will dominate. So you can be prepared now that temperatures are warming up and we're getting closer to summer. So let's have a look at our pest and mosquito index report. First, let's talk about the different factors. Humidity, temperature, and wind obviously are going to affect their activity. Most activity, dusk to dawn, temperatures 70 to 80 degrees. You know, mosquitoes can fly 1 to 1.5 miles an hour. I thought that was a little fast from a little mosquito, but go on with your bad self. Activity increases under a full moon. They are attracted to CO2, body heat, and sweat. So when you are breathing, right, they're attracted to that. They thrive in wooded, shaded, and wet areas. Mosquitoes love just sitting water. So if you have any sitting water, see if you can get rid of it so that you don't breed more mosquitoes. This evening, basically, right through the center of the country, we're going to see high activity, very high activity, as you can see along that I-10, even the I-20 corridor for us. And as we head into tomorrow evening, not a whole lot changing for us. We are going to continue to see that high activity through the center of the country into the southeast, and then into Sunday evening, more of the same. But of course, this will start spreading wider as we head deeper into our summer months.
Weather-wise, presented by Zevo. People-friendly, bug-deadly.
All right, we have more severe weather that we are tracking here in the southeast. We want to head to that tornado warning that Jim had mentioned. We have our big system rotating through, and that has kicked off this tornado warning. That means a tornado is imminent or it's occurring. And notice it's in Bergen, Nicholasville, and Wilmore. You are under this tornado warning, and there's a lot of rain. Right now, you're looking at the rain. This is looking at the rotation. Red means winds are going away. Green means winds are going towards. And we can zoom in and show you that we do have that rotation heading for us. And there's kind of two areas that we are watching here, but overall that broad rotation, which means you could have a tornado at any minute. So you need to make sure that you're getting to the lowest level of your home right now. Looking for a dropout to see if there's debris, not really picking up on much at the moment. But again, this is more of a kind of broader rotation. We don't see that strong, tight gate to gate with this right now. But any sort of rotation obviously means you could have a tornado at any moment. This is moving at 30 miles an hour. Even if we don't get a tornado, watch for some of those gustier winds out of this system. Vineyard, 736 is when it will be to you. Union Mills at 747. Spears at 753, crossing over Highway 27, making its way to Highway 25. And if you are along Highway 127, this is not headed in your direction. This is going north and east of there. So you want to get to your lowest level, most interior room of your home. And obviously there's a lot of rain with this. And so it might be tough to see if there is a rotation within that. Now we want to go down into San Antonio. We just can't get a break in the San Antonio-Austin area. We saw flooding rain just the other day, and we are getting it again. We have a flash flood warning here into San Antonio. We're not finished with the rain yet. The heaviest stuff has passed off to our south and east, but there's still plenty of moderate rain that's going to go on through and perhaps exacerbate the situation. If you see any roads that are covered with water, and we've already had reports of that, you want to turn around, don't drown. You don't know how fast the water is flowing. You don't know what's under the water. So make sure that you keep that in mind if you're heading out and you run into any of that flash flooding in and around San Antonio, and also other flash flood warning to the south and west of that area. Shreveport, rain's coming into you. Texarkana, we're in the cloudy weather. And as we zoom in a little bit closer, it's specifically really San Antonio proper and on the north side of town, with the northern side of that loop, the northern side of that perimeter. Converse, also into Universal City. This is until 8:45, and there are your reports that we're already getting in. Several low water crossings here are closed in Windcrest, Live Oak. We have stranded vehicles and rescues going on. San Antonio, multiple stranded vehicles, high water rescues reported across San Antonio. So this is a very serious situation. It's all going to be shifting east into the Carolinas, Georgia, into the mid-Atlantic even, where we do have a Torcon of 3. And keep this in mind, just because it's a 3 on the low end of the scale, you still can get a spin up like we did yesterday in Georgia. A real quick one for us. We do have this piece of energy and then the overall energy that's coming in. We've got stuff dropping down from Canada. There's a lot going on in the atmosphere, not to mention some of the jet energy winds that are pushing in as well. So all of this is combining with a surface feature to give us the threat of stronger thunderstorms. And notice, this whole system will be moving east as we head over time. So we will get more storms here along I-10, along I-20, especially with that daytime heating. That's going to help kick everything off, and that's all going to be moving east. Strong winds out of these. I'm telling you, the Carolinas really need to be paying attention as we head through the day. And then, Jim, that is going to slide not only into Florida for the weekend, but also into the Northeast. We're stretching far and wide with this one.
Yeah, let's go get into the Northeast. Definitely worried about today as this stuff gets to the I-95 corridor. If it's this active this morning, you kind of wonder, if it's the atmosphere is telling us it's a little jacked up today. It's been wet weekends galore. If you look over the last 13 weekends, several of you had all or most of those weekends on the wet side with at least a trace of rain. There we're looking at, more. We're not even in drought anymore anywhere here for the most part. So, that's over with. Now we're just dealing with soupy conditions. We're trying to carve out a trough of low pressure in the Northeast. You can see there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle here. This is the one that brings our severe weather threat to the mid-Atlantic, the one Steph just highlighted the tornado warning on, which, by the way, is from the same supercell that produced the tornado around Perryville. So there you go. We're looking at that low kind of taking shape, and then both of those upper systems kind of working around each other. We call it the Fujiwara effect. So one kind of plays off of the other, right? And get, one slingshotted by the other and the other one slingshotting. Here comes that system rolling to the Northeast. You kind of, like I said, you wonder how much of a ramped up severe potential we have today, just looking at the conditions we're getting this morning. But here's what we've got for you. Supercells coming in out of the Piedmont toward Washington, D.C. for this afternoon's evening.
Right. Welcome back, everybody. All right, we are traveling this morning. It is finally Friday. Want to make sure you get to your destination safe. So we teamed up with our safe driving partner, Subaru. We're going to take a look at some of the roads out the door this morning. And obviously, we've been tracking the powerful storms coming through Kentucky. Those have been ongoing. We also have some intense rain back into central Texas with a flash flood warning in San Antonio. Let's focus on the mid-Atlantic because remember, whatever's over here will move east throughout the day today. So even though you're waking up and it's not too bad from Raleigh out towards Norfolk, that'll change, definitely. We've got a powerful front that'll move through all across the mid-Atlantic, the southern tier. Of course, more storms impacting Atlanta by late morning into midday. That'll track south and east. We're not looking at huge numbers here, so it's not like we're looking at, a bunch of flash flood warnings or anything like that. But at times, it could really come down, all right? A lot of runoff going right into the gutter. Careful if it's trash day for you. I-10 will be active for sure, and then eventually it'll slide south. We also have some storms this morning just outside of Tampa. That could impact you for the morning commute, and then we'll just be seeing these storms dance around the peninsula of Florida throughout the day today. More impacts for us going into Saturday for you guys in and around much of the Florida peninsula. Cincinnati rain, Louisville rain. This is just south of Indianapolis, but the more potent storm, as you can see, is clearly right here. We zoom in, get right outside of Lexington, all right? We've been tracking this same cell when it was west of Danville. We're like, hey, heads up if you're in Danville. Now we're kind of seeing it skirt just to the north of you, and it is kind of working its way right over the interstate. The rotation at times has been weak, then it's been strong, then, you know, we see debris, and then it goes back up, and the storm continues, and then the storm, you know, maybe you don't have a tornado warning, and then boom, a new tornado pops off. So along this whole track, and wherever this thing goes, we're going to be watching it closely. You can clearly see some rotation happening there, even though it's a little bit more broad, but it's still a warning nonetheless, and I want you guys in Nicholasville or Spears, even Locust Grove here in Kentucky, to maybe just kind of wait this thing out, seek shelter. Obviously, you don't want to get out and about if you don't have to when it's raining cats and dogs, plus you can't see this thing just because it's rain wrapped itself. But either way you look at it, you could get some intense winds coming through this section of the Bluegrass State. Jim?
Great advice. All right, guys, we are heading into the month of June, and temperatures are on the way up. Kansas City will see a high of 80 degrees today, but inside your car, we will heat up, well over 100 degrees in less than 30 minutes, all right? When that happens, we are always concerned about kids and pets being left in hot cars. Meteorologist Reynolds Wolf tells us how to explain hot car tragedies.
Of all child vehicular heat stroke deaths, 54% of them were caused by parents unknowingly leaving their child in the car. It is important to look before you lock. On a sunny 85-degree day, the inside of your car can reach nearly 119 degrees in just 30 minutes. This has to do with the type of radiation that is being emitted. The sun emits visible light in the form of short wavelengths. These wavelengths can pass through glass windows and get absorbed by the car's interior, causing it to heat up and warm the air in the car. The interior, however, emits long-wave radiation. These wavelengths cannot pass through windows. Therefore, the radiation gets trapped inside and accelerates the warming. If you see a child or pet left in a car, don't wait for the driver to get back. Call 911 immediately, and they'll give you instructions. If the child or pet is unresponsive, remove them from the vehicle by any means necessary. Never leave a child alone in the car, not even for a minute. Open the back door every time you park. To remind you, put something you need back there to start your day, like a handbag or employee badge. Keep vehicles locked even when in the driveway or garage. Kids can get themselves locked in, but may not be able to get back out. Teach children to honk the horn if they become stuck inside a car. These are just a few things you can do to prevent the risk of hot car deaths.
All right, guys, ahead at 8:40 a.m. Eastern on America's Morning Headquarters here, we will talk to a recent LSU engineering graduate who is working on a smart alert system that hopes to help stop child hot car deaths. This is a really cool story because there's actually 3 students that worked on this, and it was inspired by a hot car death. So we'll talk about that and what they've come up with there. Really, really interesting feature for us. We'll see if it gets entrained into the system. All right, here we go. We're talking about big heat for the central part of California, up into Boise, even all the way up to the Canadian border here. Glacier National Park, going to be a hot day today where we've got heat advisories posted there. And, of course, extreme heat, Vegas into Death Valley where you're up around 110 with the heat index and through here. We've got low pressure over high pressure. So we call this a Rex block. And with this Rex block, we're going to get some big heat underneath it. 15 to 25 degrees above average. And whenever you see 20, 25 degrees above average, you can say, wow, we're going to be approaching record heat levels. And we certainly might have that today in a lot of places. Look at Fresno, 102, Elko, Nevada, 91, Death Valley, 114. They were 111 yesterday. By the time we get to Saturday, we could be about 118, so even 4 degrees warmer. So really, the apex of the heat is tomorrow, and then we start cooling it down on Sunday. Look at this old record here in Redding, 106, 1950 could break it. 1910 in Stockton. If we get to 104 today, we'll break that old record, which is over 100 years old. And there are plenty others where that came from. Maybe even monthly records could go by the wayside in some spots. Again, another hot day tomorrow, all the way from the Canadian border on south. We'll start to break this on Sunday into Monday, and next week, the pattern starts to change. Hang in there.
Safe Driving Guide, brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, check this out. A state of emergency in Canada as more than 170 active wildfires rage out of control. We're talking thousands of people being told to evacuate as crews try to contain the monster flames. And right now, parts of the country are dealing with extreme fire danger. The hazardous smoke from all those fires, it's intensifying. Blazes are now threatening parts of the U.S., and that smoke is coming down to the lower 48. And now we've got air quality alerts in parts of the upper Midwest. And, I mean, you can look at those skies. I mean, that view right there says it all. So this is Manitoba. It was earlier this week. This is on Tuesday. I want to show you a different view. We had it from a bird's eye view. Here's a look up into space looking down from our satellite perspective. This is Manitoba right here on the right side of the screen. Look at all that smoke there. Notice many fires here in Saskatchewan, and all that is kind of flowing east and eventually is going to be sagging south, which is why we're worried about what could happen in and around the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest and the Northern Plains. So active wildfires right now ongoing for many of these territories, including the Northwest Territories, including Alberta, Canada. We're talking over 2 million acres burning currently right now. And there's the smoke forecast beginning to drop just to the south. You'll be able to, maybe see its impacts around the upper peninsula of Michigan, right here towards northern Minnesota, in and around the Arrowhead, back towards Fargo, along that section of the Red River Valley. Air quality alerts for you and the entire state of Wisconsin. You're now being impacted or will be impacted at some point throughout the day today. This smoke is going to sag south, impacting Chicago, going all the way down towards Detroit, and maybe even shifting into the Mid-South, which I'll show you in just a moment. But a couple of air quality alerts right there show you that we've got, moderate to maybe trending towards unhealthy over the next 48 hours or so down here at the surface. Meanwhile, you still have all that smoke up above as well. So you're going to be looking at maybe different look at your sunrises and sunsets because of this. All right. Anybody who's doing outdoor activities this upcoming weekend, just know that that smoke is going to be out and about. And notice it does shift a little bit farther to the south throughout our day today. Meanwhile, fires are still burning, and wherever that wind is flowing, that's where it's going to take it. And so we've got this solid stream of smoke shifting south, which will continue to impact some of these big metro areas in the upper Midwest. So in terms of impacts, obviously if it gets bad, you got to go inside, shut the windows, maybe get that air on recirculating mode in your house. If you have to use a mask, you want to use the N95 masks. Even the P100 are going to be better, but those can be very helpful to keep those particulates from getting into your lungs. And then I mentioned this one, Jim, if driving, in the car or at your house, put that AC on recirculate mode.
Use the recirculate. Gosh, Jordan, from what you showed there, maybe some hazy skies in North Georgia this weekend.
Maybe.
All right, let's talk about what we got going on. We got Tropical Storm Alvin, which has kind of a short life ahead of it in through here. It's already getting sheared. It's already starting to move into cooler water. Then there's this next area down to the southwest. And if you remember yesterday, we were talking about this Central American gyre, which is ever present. And it looks like the European ensemble says, hey, I got something for you the next 7 days down and through here. So something may break off of that, but it looks like right now it is going to be more on the Pacific side. You'll notice there's nothing on the Atlantic side, but we also showed you how kind of mid-month some of this I guess, rising air motion gets into the Western Caribbean, so maybe a little bit better chance toward mid-month. But we don't have anything to worry about this weekend. We're looking good. Here's Alvin. Look at the shear getting a hold of this thing right now. Totally decoupling it from the center. I mean, it's definitely getting sheared, but it's going to weaken, and we want that. We typically see that. Here's the cooler water as well that it's working in. So we're going to deal with the mid-level moisture that'll be coming up here and literally pulled into this upper air low, which is helping to lock into the heat across the southwest. All right, that's what we're looking at. Jilbo, am I locked up? Boy, it's lock up your computer day here at the Weather Channel.
It's a Friday.
Have we all had a lockup today?
Not me yet.
Abrams, you have.
I have,
right?
yeah.
You have.
We got the gremlins.
All right, so we're going to skip it. Alvin's moisture pulled northward again into the south through the Baja, Gulf of California, and right up into the southwest. This will help drop the temperatures, too, in Arizona, probably about 20 to 30 degrees. How nice is that going to be? Yeah, going from the 100 pluses to down into the low 90s, which is about 10 degrees below average, believe it or not, for late May in Phoenix. I think he advertised about 100 this time of the year. 93 in Vegas, 80 in Los Angeles. This is Sunday. Again, this moves in Saturday night. Showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. So kind of a nice little pre-monsoon, which usually starts around Father's Day. All right. 89, that's it, Sunday and Monday. And then this stuff moves into the Intermountain region. Next week, some of this moisture gets out in the plains. We will have not only heavy rain to worry about, but also the chance for a few severe thunderstorms. And that's what's going to happen with the pattern. We're going to watch the East Coast finally get a little bit of a break, and then we'll see all these severe storms kind of line up, along with the flood potential in the plains. All right, let's go over to Steph.
All right, let's have a look out the door in the Northeast, Boston and Philly. I know, I'm sorry, we have another rainy weekend on tap for you. I know, we do have that ground stop there into D.C. with all the fog in the area. We have a little bit of rain going through Jersey. But you see those clouds back in Ohio? Yep, they're going to expand, move in today. We're going to add another rainy weekend. It's been nonstop for us here in the Northeast. It's like, come on, why on the weekends? Why every weekend over the past 13, 14 weekends have we had rain? Unfortunately, Saturday we'll get it. Improving conditions, though, Sunday.
Well, more storms firing up in an already soggy south. We've got more activity this morning. Cities back in the bullseye today. We'll talk about that. Plus, when you might be able to actually ditch that rain gear. Steph?
And speaking of being sick of the rain, another stormy weekend on tap for the Northeast, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Hang on for Sunday, Jim.
Yeah, there's always Sunday. Sunday fun day, right? Hey, guys, Tropical Storm Alvin coming to life in the Eastern Pacific for a short period of time anyway. How it's going to influence the weather in the southwest and the central United States as we get into next week. Plus, are you ready for the Atlantic hurricane season? Believe it or not, that starts on Sunday.
No.
It's already half the year.
I know.
What the?
Golly. This is America's Morning Headquarters. I'm meteorologist Jordan Steele. Good morning, everybody. We have meteorologist Stephanie Abrams and Jim Cantore here. All right, we've got video of a tornado caught on camera twisting right across I-75 just outside of Atlanta. So look at it closely here from inside the car. It tossed debris into the air. This is Locust Grove. Over a dozen buildings ended up getting damaged in a neighborhood in Henry County, including one home that was completely leveled. We also need to inform you that one teen was injured and transported to the hospital with minor injuries. National Weather Service teams will be out to survey damage and determine intensity. More storms for the south yet again today, as we will be watching some of these maybe tornadic. In fact, you've been tracking some of those storms this morning, Jim.
As a matter of fact, I have. One little discrete supercell kind of rolling through Kentucky that produced damage to two homes in Mackville, which is near Perryville, which is where we had the tornado. And then that supercell decided to produce a tornado again. What's really been interesting is the supercell has been riding up this low pressure and warm front, okay? And this is right here where we have spin in the atmosphere. We got instability this morning. The low-level jet is also progressing to the east. The air that's over Washington and Virginia this afternoon is a lot more unstable. All right, so once that fog burns off, we're going to have a hot, humid air mass over us this morning. Now just dealing with a lot of stratiform rain, Maysville up towards Cincinnati, on in toward Huntington. But that doesn't mean we can't pop out a discrete supercell. Here's the Mackville report, by the way. 2 homes damaged, TDS present, which is tornado debris signature. If you remember, literally an hour ago, just about an hour ago, I was showing you that on the air. And we literally watched that evolve from one scan to the next, where we didn't have a dropout, then we did, and it was a big dropout. And that's why you had the tornado literally happening and unfolding during one segment here on the Weather Channel. So again, low pressure, warm front, cold front, and wave extending back into Arkansas. We'll keep an eye on this whole warm sector today because we have a chance at severe thunderstorms with all hazards in play. The tail end of the front, coming down into San Antonio. Very heavy rain this morning. We've had water rescues, and they're likely ongoing in the San Antonio area. This was the heaviest batch of rain that moved through, all right? But we haven't really lightened it up all that much. It's a different type of rain, but it's still kind of this moderate rain sitting over the same area where we've already had about 3 to 5 inches of rain in some spots locally. 2 to 5 in general, but that's obviously the 3 to 5 is on the bigger end of this. Stranded vehicle, water rescue in Live Oak, which is north of San Antonio, and then the multiple stranded vehicles and high water rescues reported in the city of San Antonio. Lower deck of I-10, all right, that's flooded. Several water crossings in Windcrest. That was one of the earlier reports we had, but that's right there at the apex of some of those higher rain totals. So again, the front, the low pressure, everything kind of heading east as this upper low evolves today. Large warm sector over Appalachia, central and southern. All right, that includes Atlanta, and then all the way east to the coastline, which is where this will travel today. So it's really this disturbance that we are going to watch move east today into this warm sector. And it's tight.
I'm here.
All right, it was enough this morning so that, we had enough energy getting on the back side of this, or the lower side of this thing, to pop off a couple of discrete supercells. So here's what it looks like from an analysis standpoint. Pretty much exactly what I showed you, even though I think that warm front has jumped north of Washington now. You can see it here spinning around and also advancing off toward the east. So let's time this out for you to get an idea of what we're going to deal with. I told you we got the instability there. Even though you have the fog, again, once this lifts, you've got some decent instability going on. There's a little cold pocket of air with this aloft, so that creates, even steeper instability. And by noontime, it looks like a lot of this is going to be moving through Charlotte and the I-85 corridor. So that's your lunchtime warning, all right? Then we go through the afternoon. You got the heating maximized, and now you've got a line of storms stretching from Richmond, right, down. I think we're still west of I-95 by about 4, but by about 5, this stuff gets right into D.C., all right, down through the Chesapeake Bay and continues on south toward Jacksonville. And look at how much more stable we are behind this thing. And you'll feel the humidity come down. All right, you'll feel the humidity come down with this as it pulls on through. And then tomorrow, something we haven't seen in a while in the southeast, Steph. It's called the sun, I believe.
Yeah.
The sun.
But I still think it's cool how you can see the front in Florida and the upper level energy to the north there into Tennessee and
Florida
stuff.
gets active.
It is finally getting active in Florida. It's been quite dry. We want to take you into Texas first, though, where lightning was popping off. This is in Sherman, north of Dallas. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex had heavy rain pelting the pavement, golf ball-size hail as well. The Metroplex running about average for the month when it comes to rainfall. We need the rain into places like Florida, where the storm is headed to. We were following this line yesterday, a little bit farther west. We were talking about it popping up here into Texas and Oklahoma, now pushing through San Antonio, where there's water rescues, where there's waters over the road. We have a lot of lightning here. It is a rough go on I-10, on 37. That's where we are seeing some of the heaviest rain. It's getting into Houston, where we're about average on rainfall. We don't really need it necessarily, but we are going to get it as it blows through into the afternoon hours, especially around noon, lunchtime. You'll get it over to Galveston. I know a lot of people might be vacationing as school's out. Everyone's getting ready for summer. It's not officially here yet, but the unofficial start to summer has occurred, right? And then as we head into the evening hours, we'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms, but things will be much improved. Now to Birmingham, where we're nearly 7 inches above average on rainfall. Atlanta, over 3.5 inches on rainfall. That same line that Jim was just showing you into the Carolinas, which we'll have a closer look at, is going to be slicing through Georgia and also into Alabama. So notice we're going to get it on 20. You'll get it on 58, on 75. It's going to be quite rambunctious around 11 o'clock. 12, 1, 2 o'clock, passing through Atlanta. And then after that goes through, this is when things will improve. And that's when, as Jim was mentioning, you'll feel a difference in the air mass. Charlotte, North Carolina, when are we going to get in on some of this action? Boomers come in around 3 o'clock. That blows through. We still see some trailing storms as we head into our 5 o'clock. And as we head into the evening hours, we can all sleep soundly here into Charlotte. It's really eastern North Carolina where we could see problems. A few showers this morning. That's really the pregame. That is nothing. That's not even related to what we're going to see later. You'll see them charging eastbound. These could be quite gnarly for us. Getting into Raleigh around dinner time. Fayetteville as well. And then some of these are going to have some fierce winds, Jordan, here, getting into Wilmington 7, 8 o'clock. Blowing through the Outer Banks as we head into the evening hours after the sun sets.
All right, so let's slide down into Florida now that we've got that covered and see how we're going to be impacted. I know this has been a situation where we've had storms basically every single day this week, firing up in the afternoon, moving through, diminishing in the evening, which has left us with some pretty nice mornings. But each and every afternoon, they've had some potency. Notice all the wind reports we've got here, especially on the Atlantic side. Everything forms right in the middle part of the peninsula and then drifts east. And we've had, 65+ mile-an-hour wind gusts blowing through the north section of the peninsula, which has our best chance for storms yet again today. I'll show you the ongoing showers that we're tracking this morning. But that powerful front that's going to impact much of the south and the same storms that Steph was talking about, this whole boundary will shift south over the next 2 days. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This morning, I've been keeping my eye on Tampa, all right? And it looks like we've got some storms dancing around Clearwater. Not much up here in the Panhandle right now, but definitely seeing more and more of that for you folks in around, let's say, Clearwater or Tampa. And some of this could drift towards Sarasota. Also, some of these will drift east. So if you're in Orlando, just keep an eye on some of these storms to your west, okay? Looks like we can maybe get some storms in Orlando earlier than we have been. The last couple of days have been developing in the afternoon, like 2, 3, 4 o'clock. But this one maybe noon, 1, 2 o'clock, okay? Meanwhile, we're still looking at some scattered activity around the bay. Then those storms shift towards Vero Beach, Space Coast, all the way down into West Palm. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for the boundary. That boundary will come through late tonight and into tomorrow. So anybody driving this evening across I-10, if you're in North Florida, just know that we're going to be seeing some of these storms blow right overhead, all right? If you're trying to get to sleep, obviously this time you will be. You'll hear rumbles of thunders through the overnight hours, but it should, last pretty quick because that front's going to be on the move. It's sliding south. So Saturday, we'll be tracking morning activity for Tampa, for Orlando, for Daytona Beach. And then that will continue its southward trajectory as we head into Saturday afternoon. So clearing for the afternoon hours up here in the north. PM sunshine, all right? You guys will get that for your Saturday, which will be nice. Meanwhile, the exact opposite, if you're, around West Palm or Naples or even out towards Miami, you guys will have kind of a rough Saturday afternoon because everything's going to shift back into your backyard. So we'll jump ahead. On Sunday, we still have that boundary linger, which means afternoon thunderstorms for sure. Some of you could see them in the morning, and then up here on the northern tier, it'll be hot, it'll be sunny, but as Jim says, it's a dry heat. It's going to be a little drier.
It's a dry heat, yeah. It's not too bad. All right, it wasn't dry heat in the Northeast. I think they'd take a dry heat right now.
Sure they would.
I mean, it's been so wet over the past several weekends, and we got more coming for you. I mean, 12 out of 13 in Boston. Steph did a great breakout on this yesterday. 11 out of 13 in Pittsburgh. 13 out of 13 in Syracuse. So remember, this will be weekend 14, so you can add a number to each one of these columns, and that's where we're going to be at, okay? Look. Here it is right here. The wetness coming on through. Remember, it's a trace or more, even though truly measurable rain is 0.01, okay? But you can see what we're talking about, 1 to 2 inches in some of these spots. So today, we're going to watch this system get kicked this way while this system drops over Wisconsin. And they're all going to kind of start playing off of each other. You'll kind of see that. This is what it'll look like. So here's that system that I show you, 1 and 2. There's other systems out there, but for the sake of argument, these are the 2 main players. And notice how 1 gets slingshot north, while 2 starts to drop to the south. And so these are kind of what we call Fujiwara around each other. They're kind of impacting one another. Ground stop this morning. You've got a lot of dense fog in and around Virginia. Manassas has been down to less than a quarter of a mile from time to time. But both of the airports, both Dulles and Reagan with the ground stops this morning. Unless they just popped it. They just changed it, literally during my segment. So think about this. What a morning. I've had a TDS literally during my segment, which is a tornado debris signature, and I've watched a ground stop go by the wayside. So this didn't change, Jilbo. We just updated this. Anyway, the warm front is up here now, all right? And the low is in central Kentucky. But the point is this huge warm sector is going to be active. It's 68 in D.C. The sun's starting to break out and through here. And we've got all this upper air energy, which is coming our way. Are we worried about severe weather this afternoon? You're doggone right we are. Okay? So be ready. Washington's in this. Richmond's in this. Roanoke is in this as well in terms of what we could be dealing with. And you can see how these storms are coming east. I talked about the southern flank of this, so I'll really focus in more on Virginia and West Virginia and Maryland. Heavy showers, heavy thunderstorms, especially around that 6, 7, 8 o'clock hour that push on through. Don't be surprised if some of you are in a watch today here. This could overachieve, in my opinion. And then we're talking about Philly to New York, some very, very heavy rain. So much for baseball tonight on the East Coast. Steph.
Let's have a look at what's happening on the West Coast with Alvin, Tropical Storm Alvin. We have no worries in the Atlantic. June 1st is the start of the hurricane season, which is on Sunday. And Andrea is the first name here in the Atlantic. We don't have to worry about that. We do have concerns about Alvin. Now, it isn't going to necessarily have major impacts in the lower 48, but what Alvin will do is help deliver some moisture in the southwest this time of year. You're like, huh? So let's have a closer look at this tropical storm. It's moving north-northwest at 10 miles an hour. We are going to see it go into cooler waters. That will help take it down. We also have an upper level low that is helping shear this system. This upper level low is going to dangle around in this vicinity for a little bit until we get a bigger trough coming in that will push the trough and this upper level low in, which will tap into some of Alvin's moisture, because the moisture doesn't go away even though the storm starts to fall apart. It goes north, the moisture comes in. But you can see that everything is basically on the north side of the system. It is not well rounded around the center of the circulation, and that's because of some of that shear with that southwest flow. But that moisture comes in to the southwest, upper level low, and our trough is also going to move east. So that means Sunday we see the beginnings of this. Monday it's going to be more expansive in the four corners, even into the plains. That's where we will have a surface feature develop and give us the chance for severe weather as we head into our next Monday and Tuesday. So we re-rack right again with storms coming in and the potential for severe weather. Heaviest rain looking like it will be into the plains. Both models have that down more in the Oklahoma, Texas area with the heavier showers. Watch it all develop as we head into our Sunday. Monday, it'll push farther into the plains. Tuesday, we could have that severe weather threat pushing east. And then into our Wednesday, another cross-country system is going to be moving into the Midwest and parts of the South as well. So we're in an active pattern. Phoenix is going to be a rainy one. Jordan, at least this will help with some of the temperatures here because we've been so hot already.
We really have been. We really have been. Obviously, getting rain this time of year is a great thing. Just looking at, what is it? It's May and I think June are the driest months. Climatologically in Phoenix. Okay, sorry. Let's get you out the door in the southeast. Check it out. We've got Atlanta, Houston, obviously cloud cover in both locations. This front is going to impact all of us throughout at least some part of the day today. The good news is we'll be clearing out, so that means tomorrow. What does it mean? Well, it means the sun will come out. When's the sun coming out, Jim?
Today.
Tomorrow.
And tomorrow.
Bet your dollar on it. And after that. All right, we'll be back. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. It is a finally Friday, and it is a busy Friday at that. Checking in on a powerful complex storm system that's sitting right along the Ohio, Louisville getting heavy rain, Lexington, you as well. Cincinnati, You were light rain all morning, now turning heavy, that's for sure. And the tail end of this is bringing some potency all the way down into parts of Tennessee, racing east of Nashville, Knoxville, of course, looking at you across that section of, let's say, I-75. Chattanooga could get into the action. It looks like you're already there, actually. And this is shifting towards Asheville, North Carolina. The high country, Boone, you'll get it as well. Maybe hearing some boomers in Boone, North Carolina. That whole system's going to work through Virginia and Maryland, maybe impacting D.C. and some of these areas in the mid-Atlantic as we head into the second half of the day today. But it's a pretty massive storm system. We actually had several tornado warnings associated with that storm system earlier this AM. Now that a majority of it's east of I-75, we'll keep an eye on places like Jackson, Moorhead, and it's now kind of trekking towards Huntington. Meanwhile, let's go all the way back into Texas, because everybody else is pretty quiet this morning. We go back to south central Texas, where San Antonio has been seeing some very heavy rain, and it is still ongoing in a flash flood warning that's currently sitting right there in Bexar County. Another flash warning way out to the west near Del Rio. The majority of the heavy stuff is shifting south and east, heading towards Corpus Christi, Victoria. I was going to say South Padre Island, but you know what? Padre Island in general, it's kind of a long stretch. You can maybe get it down to the south. We'll see. But definitely the northern end there. I-37, hard to see along that commute. And notice the yellow still impacting this section of Bexar County. So if anything, it's going to get worse in terms of a flash flood warning for you folks in and around San Antonio. Here's the big picture. And then here's where storms could get active, especially as we head into the second half of the day today for areas like Atlanta, Savannah, and even Wilmington, North Carolina. Jim?
All right, late spring temperatures are soaring well above average across the West Coast, with millions of Californians exposed to dangerously hot temperatures for the next few days. Governor Gavin Newsom says the state is working on a way to keep residents in the know.
We're taking an idea that you all know well, and I think most of the folks watching know well, and that's creating a ranking system. And we're going to start to categorize, like we do tropical storms and hurricanes, these extreme heat waves, give people warnings and also give people resources.
I like that. I think that's a great idea. Heat wave 5, heat wave 4, 3, 2, 1 gives us certainly a level. Right now, we have advisories out from the Weather Service offices, and they stretch all the way from Missoula's office, through Boise's office, through Burns's office, down through Sacramento. I mean, many offices across the West dealing with these even extreme heat warnings for Las Vegas. Death Valley was a robust 111 yesterday. Why are we in this? Because you've got a Rex block right over the West Coast. That's a hot ridge. That's a hot weather pattern if you're under that ridge, especially this time of the year. And as a result, 15 to 25 above average. That's what we're talking about. When you get up in that 20, 25, 30, which is really extreme, you know you're near record setting. And that's exactly what we've got. Death Valley, 115 today. We may be about 118 tomorrow. Isn't that crazy? 118 tomorrow for Death Valley and to end May. I wonder what the all-time, Jilbo, what's the all-time record for Death Valley for the month of May? It's going to be up around 115 to 120. 104 Vegas, 104 as we take you down toward Blythe. All right, that's what we're dealing with. And speaking of records, this is just today's. Look at this one from Reading, 1950. All right, Stockton, 1910, the possible record. That's an old record in through here. And we could tie at Reno from 1986. The other two, we're not forecasting record highs, but we'll be close to the 2002 heat wave that we had in the West as well. So should we get warm enough, which none of these forecasts are doing yet, could we, in fact, have all-time monthly highs? Well, today and tomorrow, there's certainly a possibility of getting very close to that, if not setting them. There's 115 at Death Valley tomorrow, so we're forecasting the same. I've seen some forecasts a little higher than that. Blythe is 101. I think we peak with the heat tomorrow, and then Sunday, obviously, some big changes. Here's tomorrow's records. Pocatello, Helena in Montana should crush that one, right? Maybe not in Salt Lake. Boise by a degree, and then Great Falls by a couple of degrees, and some of these as well, old records. All right? And as you can see, Boise, we cool down big time on Sunday, as much of the West does. Stephanie.
All right, well, we're not going to be temperature hot in Oklahoma City, but I tell you what, the women are going to be smoking here on the College World Series double elimination. They are fired up, playing well. The losers of today's games are out of the tournament. We've got Texas, number 6, Oklahoma, ranked 2. But going for 5 straight here at the Women's College World Series. Can they do it? Can they do 5 straight? We will see the sunshine here, 70 to 80 degrees. Speaking of the 70s, you know that The pitchers can pitch anywhere from 58 to 74 miles an hour. They average in the 60s there. Pretty impressive stuff. Pretty impressive weather for the Texas Tech and UCLA game as well.
All right, check out this stunning view from the sky of a massive long-track microburst that moved over Austin, Texas on Wednesday. Straight from the plane, you look out the window and you're like, man, I'm glad I'm not flying through that. National Weather Service saying the length of the damage stretched about 10 miles. We had video of some hail and wind and downed trees and some problems here, Jim.
Yeah, when you look at that, you don't realize you're going to get 60 to 85 miles an hour out of that thing, which we got. We had a peak wind gust at Austin Bergstrom at 77 miles an hour. But, I mean, that doesn't look that ominous, does it?
It never does,
really doesn't.
right? It's like Mother Nature moves slow, but it's fast.
Sometimes
it's weird.
When you see those haboobs, they're curled.
Yeah.
And then they have the little clefts, the little feet
and then
on the bottom.
Look how nice it is.
That's kind of pretty. Yeah, that doesn't look ominous. But
nearly 35 million at risk for severe storms today in the southeast and mid-Atlantic. We're tracking a front coming through.
Yeah, and this will be interesting because we've already had tornado warnings this morning in Kentucky.
We have.
Same system moving east to much more, unstable air. We'll see how that turns out. But damaging winds, large hail, possible tornadoes. Let's see where it's going to line up. Steph's got an update for us.
Well, it's going around and around here, Jim, because we have a lot going on in the atmosphere. We have upper level energy. We have surface features that are happening as well. All of this giving us lift and that threat for severe weather as we go through the day. There is that first bit of energy we were talking about yesterday leaving the coast. Here is the next one, and it's already brought severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings into Kentucky this morning. Right now, a little bit of lightning here. And this is really just kind of the beginning of what is going to be a very active and stormy day. It's already been rough in San Antonio with water rescues. We've had water over roads that have been covering them. As we go a little bit closer, this is where we have that flash flood warning, especially for San Antonio proper and the north side of town, Universal City, Converse, you're in it, but all the way down into Kennedy, 37, 35. It is wet, and this is moving, but just not fast enough. And so we are getting multiple flood reports in. The whole thing is moving east, and so that means today from the mid-Atlantic down into Florida, we will have the chance for strong thunderstorms and even tornadoes to pop up here. We had a tornado yesterday in Georgia, and that one did a lot of destruction and damage and did a lot of harm to people. We could see that again today here into North Carolina and Virginia. So as I mentioned, there's a lot going on in the atmosphere. Here's just our first spin that's causing a lot of those issues in Kentucky this morning. But there's an overall bigger piece, and we also have energy up in Canada that's going to reinforce that. We have jet energy that's coming in into the southern plains as well. Whoa, I got so fired up about that. My shoe came up, knocked my shoes off. That's that's how wild the weather is today. There is our surface feature, this front. We were talking about it yesterday into western Texas, moving down towards the coast. And this whole system is going to be riding eastbound along I-20, I-10 for the day today. So watch that daytime heating help with some of these storms firing up. Gusty winds. Houston, you'll get in on it. Louisiana, and notice these cells anywhere from the mid-Atlantic down into Georgia, really into Alabama as well along this boundary. These are going to be fierce. You could have power outage. You could have tree damage. You could have damage to your home. They continue into our dinner time hour, anywhere from the I-95 corridor to the I-10 corridor. That's going to sweep through Florida, getting into South Florida as we head into our Saturday. The rest of the southeast will dry out with the exception of Jim. Still that energy, that upper level energy rotating around for us here. You never want to sleep on it.
No.
But you will watch our dew point temperatures drop behind the system. Not hugely, but enough.
Yeah, so we'll see what that next one has to work with. It won't have the same air mass to work with. All right, so it's been wet in the Northeast over the past weekends. Add a number to each column here, and that'll basically be the results of this weekend. All right, lots and lots of wetness in through here. We're out of the drought. Okay, we're out of the drought. We're going to get more rainfall in through here. This is the system today, and this is the system that'll kind of keep us cloudy and unsettled on Saturday in through here as they kind of intertwine. They do what we call a Fujiwara effect. They kind of play off of each other, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So you can see where the warm front is this morning. Big warm sector over D.C. and Roanoke. Much more unstable air here, which frankly makes me wonder what we're going to wind up with by the end of the day. I think we have all hazards in play. We're talking about tornadoes. We're talking about damaging wind. We're talking about hail. We've already had tornado warnings this morning on the warm front in Kentucky, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have more this afternoon in the warm sector. Some of you may be in a watch. So when is all this going to happen? Here's dinner time. You can see the storms coming through the Maryland Panhandle, out through Richmond and Roanoke, some pretty feisty storms by about 8 p.m. So, we're just losing the sun at this point, and then all this just heads right up through Philly and on into New York City as we go through the overnight hours with lots of wet weather. And because it's been so wet here, and because we are out of drought, it won't take much to cause flash flooding in addition to that severe weather threat.
Welcome back on a Finally Friday, everybody. We made it. What a busy weather week, hasn't it been? I mean, for so many of you down in the southern plains, we've had rain ongoing in the south. It looks like we're going to be tracking some of these showers impacting the mid-Atlantic. I know we had some storms there, too, impacted us this week. And just now, a few showers just off the coast of Cape May. Technically speaking, you guys are still looking at a little bit of shower activity there for South Jersey. Maybe some of that impacting Atlantic City. But all this is light. You're all green from an airport perspective. Hopefully that's the case for EWR. Just saying, I hope you guys are all green and no delays there. Meanwhile, later today, we will be tracking that storm that we've been basically nowcasting in and around Kentucky. That's going to send energy eastward into the mid-Atlantic, and that's one of the reasons why you could maybe be looking at delays from Pittsburgh down towards BWI for folks in Baltimore. D.C. could be on the list as well. So we'll see as we head into the second half of the day. Notice most of the energy there is clearing, but there's that pesky storm that I was just talking about. Cincinnati, you're in it right now, and obviously slowly working its way towards West Virginia. Few showers up towards Marquette. In fact, that flow for you folks in Marquette is actually bringing some smoke down from Canada, which I'll be talking a lot more about probably in the next 10 minutes or so. All right, here's a look at the rainfall that's knocking on our doorstep in Pittsburgh. Give it another hour or so, and you guys will get some wet roads, that's for sure. Scattered storms today. Notice the red, Philadelphia, back towards I-79, D.C. included, okay? Meanwhile, if you're in Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, you guys get a bit of a break today, which will be nice. A lot of this will be to your south and to your west. Meanwhile, still a little bit of rain could be possible around Boston. I want to get a little closer look at this system that's almost done in Louisville. It's got this beautiful comma-shaped structure to it. And, it's these little storms that are embedded in it that have been pretty fierce from time to time and actually have had some rotation. Meanwhile, some of these storms are entering into the high country here, Jim, of Tennessee and North Carolina.
Yeah, they're making their way east, and they're going to be active all the way to the East Coast. All right, guys, let's talk about the tropics a little bit. Of course, we've got Alvin now, which, to nobody's surprise, we got yesterday, and it's spinning around, now getting sheared from the southwest. There's also dry air being brought in on the southern flank of this. There's a new area to watch off to the west of that, but we'll have some time to watch it. And if you kind of notice here, since we're showing you the Pacific and the Atlantic, I mean, you can pretty much go right across this area, which is just north of the equator, to find where the trade winds converge, the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. And along that, we've got some tropical waves. And those tropical waves are moving on through the flow. As a matter of fact, Alvin came from a tropical wave and now, of course, has broken off from that. But we'll watch these waves as they continue to move on to the west. So we still got plenty of time in the Atlantic. But I was looking at the European ensemble, and I was noticing going forward in time. I just want to go out 7 days. Some of the model guidance I look at actually goes out 10 days. But there's more and more of these lows. Oh, gosh, what color do I use? Green. I'll just use green for the sake of argument. Starting to show up in here as we get toward June 9 and 10. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit in the fact that we're going to have the better phase of the MJO, which is rising air motion over the tropical region, coming into play about mid-month. All right? So that's when we'll start looking for something through here. That doesn't mean, we could get something that develops here or tries to, and then it moves right west. It never has time to. Or something down here toward Belize and Ecuador and then moves on off toward the west, which is the way that the flow goes. But we've got a kind of a catalyst for all this that sets up in the early season as well as the end season. It's called the Central American Gyre, or the CAG. All right, to kind of abbreviate it a little bit. Common May through June, can produce exceptional rainfall and flooding, can even spawn tropical cyclones. And some of those cyclones actually can come north at us. Here's Alvin, again, weakening, getting sheared. It's also moving over cooler waters. It's going to continue to weaken, but its moisture is going to make its way into the southwest, which really is going to help us out. It's going to get all pulled into this upper air low. And as it does, clouds, showers, thunderstorms, a nice little rainfall. This isn't the monsoon kicking in. That's not usually till Father's Day. But we're also going to see us go from 105, 107 around Phoenix down into the low 90s. Wow. Yeah. The average high is about 100 in Phoenix this time of the year. So this is decent. Here's how it plays out. Here's 89 on Sunday. Holy cow, not 90, but how about 89 we're talking about? And then this all moves off to the northeast and eventually out into the plains as we get next week with another upper air system. But we're talking about dealing with storms and stormy weather, kind of refocusing back into the plains after dealing with Texas and the East Coast for a pretty good bit this week. Jordan.
I always like seeing the animals whenever Mother Nature throws in like snow. But if you're in Phoenix, you take a dog out on an 89-degree day, they're like, what in the heck is going on here? I don't even have to put my like paw, covers on because the pavement's not that hot. Let's go ahead and enjoy a dog walk this morning for you. Let's go to Fort Collins, Colorado with Murphy. Oh, what a boat day for you, huh? Love the photo, Murphy. And yes, looks like we could maybe have a nice boat day this afternoon. Not too hot. Not too cold, just right. 80 degrees there in Fort Collins, Colorado with an isolated storm this afternoon. Same thing in Pawleys Island where we'll have an isolated storm later today. Golly, can you guys look at this photo for a second? Look at Boo Boo do the second. Just absolutely hilarious. Temperatures for you in the 80s, so if you're going to be out on the beach, that should be perfect.
Boo Boo do you? Is that the name of the dog?
This dog walking forecast brought to you by Apoquil. Choose Apoquil Chewable. Your dog will thank you.
We are fast approaching the summer months, and temperatures will not only be rising outside, but also inside your vehicle.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, an average 37 children die in hot cars every year. Unbelievable. Over half of these deaths happen because the caregiver simply forgets their child is still in the car. Now a trio of engineering students at LSU are taking action to prevent these tragedies. We are joined by one of those students this morning, Nnamdi Dike. I want to make sure I said your name right. Nnamdi is from Nigeria. And Nnamdi, you guys got a great story here. Tell us about the inspiration for the idea of the project and how it's evolved.
So the inspiration for the project actually came from our sponsor, David Jenks, who unfortunately was one of the relatives or a very close friend of someone who this incident did happen to just last summer. So his friend was busy and got carried away, and his child did unfortunately die in a hot car about this time last year.
All right, so that's utterly tragic, and I know that you guys want to prevent that from happening for other people in the future. So tell us how the alert system works.
So it works on a pretty basic principle where this box right here has an Arduino inside it, and it's connected to a weight pad that goes into the seats. So once you put, it's not on right now, but then once you put your baby inside, then the system kind of identifies that there's a baby in there, and it lights up blue. And once, let's say, you walk away with this fob, now the idea is that this fob is connected to, so it has a key ring right here, so you connect it to your car keys. So once you walk into the car, it identifies you're there. And then let's say you turn off your car and you start walking away. while the baby is still in the car seats, then this fob that you have is going to start beeping to kind of alarm you that, okay, something is going on, there's still something in the car, and you should go back to check.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so I assume that this works, and it works great. What's planned for this project next for you guys now that you're graduated?
The plan right now is we have given it back to our sponsor, and we're willing to work with him to improve the project, because we had many large and fantastic ideas for this project, but due to the resources we had in terms of time, in terms of money for the project under LSU's capstone design projects system, we didn't have time to accomplish everything that we wanted to. So we are willing to work with him over the next couple of months to improve it and potentially give it to someone who's going to sponsor it to go into mass production.
Well, that's really exciting, and hopefully that will save many, many lives. Namdi DK, LSU engineering graduate, thank you for all this hard work.
Namdi, say hi to Victoria and Trevor and congratulate them on their hard work as well. And it's a great idea, and I hope you guys save a lot of lives because of this in the future.
All right, another thing that he is related to, of course, is fires. Right. And we have a serious situation that is beginning, Jordan, in Canada and could be affecting us here.
Yeah, we've got incredible video here of those monster fires burning in Manitoba. We're talking 170 active wildfires are raging out of control, and thousands are being told to evacuate as the crews try to do what they can to control those flames. Right now, parts of the country are dealing with extreme fire danger, and all that hazardous smoke, well, it's now threatening parts of the U.S., triggering air quality alerts in parts of the upper Midwest. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's not just Manitoba, but that's where we've got the video here for you. If you take a look from a map perspective, you've got a lot of activity. Here's Manitoba just covered in smoke, right, on the right side. And then you've got more fires blossoming in Saskatchewan. And that's not the only area that Canada's seeing big fires, but that's where we have the dense smoke. Notice we've got it back into Alberta, some British Columbia, and even some all the way up into the Northwest Territories. And some of this is going to be dropping down, which does impact you in the upper Midwest. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at current smoke, last 24 hours. What is it doing? Well, it's starting to make its southward trajectory, and its trend is that it's going to continue to do so as we head into the day today. And some of the smoke in the international border by tonight might be all the way south of I-80, Indianapolis, and maybe even down into parts of I-40, okay? So just to kind of give you guys perspective. Now, the air quality alerts are up here for the entire state of Wisconsin, part of the Upper Peninsula, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, back towards Fargo and the Red River Valley area of Minnesota here, just on the northwest side of the state. But you're all going to be seeing impacts here. That's just where we've got the alerts currently. If you take a look at Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, you're under a moderate air quality for today. I'm going to change the map to tomorrow. Very similar areas under that moderate air quality. Some of you at times might go to unhealthy, especially for sensitive groups, so we'll be mindful of that. It all has to do with how much of that smoke can maybe come all the way to the surface. If it stays up high, that's better for us here on the ground, but some of that will come down to the ground as well. If you just look at it from a map perspective, notice how it shifts all the way south. This will increase our beauty for sunrises and sunsets with more particulate matter in the sky, but it also make things more difficult, especially for us if we've got baseball games this weekend or soccer games or, you know, whatever you're going to be doing out and about. And this will stay with us. We're into Monday next week. We'll still be talking about this smoke as well. We'll be back.